And welcome to Flexible Games, where we are kicking off a new Transport Fever series. We are going to do this, and we're just going to focus on just maximum production. So, look at the mods that we're going to use. We're going to use freight airports. I really want to see freight airports used to great effect for some, remote cities. Trying to supply cities in mountainous areas, those kind of things. So this mod adds freight airports as well as new planes that can actually carry freight. This NSBL is a late game. It's sort of my late game mod for cargo moving. The engines are very, very powerful and very quick. So I kind of want to test to see if they are, if they don't break the game. So the Stadler Flirt, this is my late game, end game people mover. So this has been modded further to be faster and carry more people, because cities that grow, when you're hitting, 2011, 2015, somewhere in that area, by then my cities have grown so big that not even several commuter trains would be able to keep up with them. So I have the Flirt as sort of the pressure valve, the pressure release on people. The Duplex, this is a sort of mid to late game fast passenger train that we're going to see if we can't build and use and get profit from. The Z production growth and Z production increase, these especially the production increase. Normally, an industry can only produce up to 1,600 units. And in late game, that is very limiting on how many cities that you can actually service with one industry. And so this bumps that up. It starts at 800, then goes to 16, then 32, then 64, and then finally 12,800 units. I have yet to see or I've yet to get an industry going to 12,800. So that's definitely a goal for this series, is to try to maximize how much goods that we're being able to move from one industry. Track Rules Plus, this is going to add our high-speed track that we are going to use, and just to try to move things as fast as possible. Industry Tycoon, this allows us to place our own industries. The map that we're going to use is only has farms on it, and I will talk about that in a second. So all of the other industries I'm going to be placing in the sort of the regions of the map that make the most sense. I'm not going to make any attempt to make it easy for myself, but we're going to have to place industries in a more of an intelligent way. Industries in the real world are not just miles from their source. So this is going to be an interesting placing of industries in sort of the region that we're going to go for. This is my logo, and this Mercedes-Benz, this is a late game bus. So as our cities are growing, it will fill a need to move people from station to station a little bit more efficiently. So in the vehicles, we're going to try to use all European terrain, and that is mainly because I don't want it just to be desert the whole way through. So we're just going to go European terrain. We're going to go American town names. That doesn't matter because we're playing on a custom map. Everything else, buildings are going to be American just for whatever reason. And everything else is pretty much standard. Now, the map that we're going to use is the Central USA map. This map is, you can subscribe to this mod and you can get this map. And I have further edited it to be more reflective of the terrain, and it had mountains where the Great Plains were, like Nebraska, Kansas was actually a mountainous area, and that's extremely flat land. But the other thing I did is also removed all but the farms in the industries. So it's a little bit more customized than usual. Start year, we're going to start at 1900. Starting at 1850 is pretty painful because you only have horse-drawn wagons and things for the first 30 to 50 years, and so your ability to play and grow and expand is highly limited. And the difficulty, we're bumping it up to medium this time. I've played plenty of games on easy, and yes, it is easy. So we're going to try medium and see if we can eke out a little bit of profit even on a medium difficulty. Now, hard, I've heard, is brutal and nearly impossible to make money. So I really want to make sure we get some progress in the game and get being able to build stuff and not having to sit around for years and years and years trying to pay off loans or whatever. So we're going to try medium. The seed is going to be Uber production, and that is kind of reminiscent of the very first series I started in Factorio on this channel. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the channel, and the first series I did was an Uber production series for Factorio. So I thought, might as well do an Uber production because that's what we're going to focus on in this series. Trying to push as much stuff around as we possibly can. So while this generates, I will skip the loading screen and we'll pick it up right when we come into the map. So I will see you in a second. All right, and here we are. We have a nice USA map. We've got a little bit of Louisiana down here, a little bit of Florida. We go up the coast here. There's Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. We have Cleveland, Detroit. We have Chicago, Green Bay, Springfield, Indianapolis, Columbus. So we've got a good amount of cities here. We've got some tucked away behind some mountains. So there's got the Appalachian Mountains back in here. Pittsburgh looks like it's going to be pretty hard to get some passenger service in there. So we start with a lot less money. We're only starting with $6 million right now. And that is going to be painful because we need to figure out a way to make some money. I've also set the city sizes to be much smaller than what the map comes with. I like starting with really small cities because I like to see them grow. I like to see them develop over time. And really, when you start with a really large city, it's hard to see that. So I'm going to plan for a lot of growth. I want to future-proof my cities a little bit. So one of the things that the game does is it seems that when you place like a passenger terminal for rail and you really give a lot of service to that, the city tends to grow in that direction. So what I want to test out in this series is if I place like a passenger station here and I send service up to Springfield, up to Chicago, and maybe further service to Green Bay, and I connect all those to one. And then I connect another one. I build another passenger station, and then I set, I go down to Nashville, maybe down to Atlanta, maybe down to Mobile, and maybe even to Memphis with further to Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and Louisiana, or New Orleans. So that would be a second passenger service connecting Indianapolis. And then I could have one on the side going this direction, connecting Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and maybe if I can, in the future, when I have the money and I can go over or through these mountains, finally connect to Washington, D.C. With some passengers. But that is going to be really expensive, so that's going to be a little later in the game. So having multiple stations, I think, is going to be an interesting way to push the growth of cities a little bit further, a little bit wider than they normally are. So we're going to go ahead and control a little bit more of how these cities grow. I really wish there wasn't a city or a building right there. So I want to pull up my land use, because when you connect to two areas, it's really wise to not only connect to residential, but also try to get some commercial and industry. Because if you have one station that has a whole bunch of residential, and then you connect it to an area that has a whole bunch of commercial, you'll get a lot of traffic between the two. So like here, we've got a lot of residential on this side. So if I bring it down and connect maybe to this side, if I bring this down and connect it over here, that's connecting the industry and commercial to the residential up here. And then further, I can connect the residential up here to the commercial and industry down here. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Once the growth starts, once it kicks off, you kind of don't have a choice of what grows. So unlike a lot of, Sim cities or city skylines, once the city starts growing, you really have no control over how it grows. So we want to figure out a good first line here to kick off our cities. So one of the things I think we're going to do is let's plan to have this going this way. And if we, okay. So that will be a main system to go north, right in here. I want to kind of embed it as much as possible into the city, but I'd really like to connect it a little bit more. So let's look at how we're going to do this. And I want to future-proof it, but I also want to make sure I have enough money to continue, enough money to actually build the lines. So we're going to kind of set this up so it's parallel with all of the streets. Make sure that we've got a good line. And we're going to connect this up right in here. Give enough room for some buildings to build on that side. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of space because I need a bus terminal in here somewhere. So I think that might be a good spot. I can't build a high-speed track or catenary on the lines yet, unfortunately. So we're going to go up with this and connect it right into there. We're going to connect this one right into there. And then we're going to try to put a bus stop somewhere in here that makes sense. If I can get this without destroying any buildings. Oh, no, it's not going to work. So let's just put it over here. And they're going to have to walk the rest of the way. So this connects a little bit up here and a little bit down here. And once this line goes through, once I have a little bit of money, I'll be able to push this through there and connect a little bit more up to this station directly. It's kind of what I'm going for there. But up here in Chicago, we connect to a little bit of commercial here. We're going to try to make a line that will connect. Oh, speaking of trains, it'd be nice if we could go right through Chicago up to Green Bay, but we've got, what is that, Lake Michigan right there? So we're not going to really be able to connect that up unless we get really creative and expensive here. I could dead end the line, but that limits me on how many places I can connect with Chicago, because if I put a through station here, I'd be able to go over to Minneapolis from Chicago and create a nice line through there. So I think what I'm going to do is we're gonna take this out. We're gonna build just a little spur, and we're gonna build a, let's do four tracks. 4 tracks here. Right in there. So when we get a bus stop, we'll be able to put it right, oh no, right in there. I don't want to bend that weird, so we'll put it right like that. And then connect this side up with this side. And we'll be able to create a little bit of a passenger route right in through there. Okay, next is track. And one of the things with this track mod is you have to pay really close attention, because you can't later upgrade the track. It's a hard-coded thing where you can't upgrade track. So I just start building with the fastest track we've got. And I've edited this a little bit to be a little bit more sane with how fast it is, but it's still insane. So it's 932 miles an hour, which is a lot, I admit. But we are not going to worry too much about that. So this is one of the things, you know, when I play a game, I get really good at it, and then I start experimenting and having a little fun with the mechanics of the game, and just try to get the most fun out of it as I can. And I love trying to min-max the production and the growth, and trying to see how big I can make a city. And, you know, money is really not a big issue. I'm not really concerned with money. So I would normally, you know, not really. I wouldn't really play with like no money, like completely disable money altogether. So I wouldn't do that. I just don't really care about the little finer points of budgets and stuff like that, because I'm fairly certain I could play the game and just take my time and be just as profitable. So with this, we are going to bring this out. I love how the game now snaps. We're just going to take out those buildings now because it's cheap. Once the building starts upgrading, once you start getting upgrades in buildings, they get really, really expensive to bulldoze. So getting them, whoa, that's kind of a cool, interesting pattern. Kind of sucks for that though. There we go. That's a little bit more sane. Okay, so Indianapolis is going to be kind of our major hub of activity here. And we're going to want to encourage growth on all fronts. So with this, we're going to want a passenger station. So we've got St. Louis right here. So Springfield, I'll be able to hit Springfield from this. And we got Detroit already. I'll be able to hit Springfield and Des Moines here. Chicago can hit Minneapolis and then Green Bay, so that takes care of that quadrant. So now I need to go this direction and hit St. Louis, Shreveport, and this one's going to have to be more of a south thing. So we're going to want another passenger train over here. But before we do that, let's look at this direction too. So I'm going to want another passenger train going this direction. And I kind of want to angle it slightly up to be able to hit a little bit more of these northern cities. So we're going to want a lot of track and dead end. So this is basically kind of laying out what we're going to do, for the next 150 years. This is all that we're going to focus on, is building up these cities. As far as goods delivery, we can actually use these passenger stations to deliver goods. So I think out here, the reason I have these with the second street connection is they cover more ground. So these actually cover a lot more ground with a dead end than they do with a middle ground. Because if you look, the middle of the station there only hits this little spot, and then it covers this. Whereas when you have a dead end, you not only hit this side, but you also connect all the way up here. So you can hit a huge area with these dead end stops versus the through stops. So we're going to bring this all the way up. Kind of want to make that look a little prettier. And this one can go right along this side. And I know we're not hitting a whole lot right now, but the city will grow in these directions. Make no mistake. Okay, so let's look at lines, and we're going to do a new line right away from here to here. So this is going to be Indianapolis to Chicago commuter. These are commuters. And we're not going to use yellow. We're going to use blue for now. We want to hit enter and get our first train running on that line. So we're going to want these are getting pretty pricey. So we got a 47 mile an hour there. We're going to make it blue. So that is a pricey train. So let's build that and look at passenger cars that are not too horrible. I'd like this 3-axle car to begin with because it's a little cheaper. It has a good top speed, and it holds, a good number of passengers. So we're gonna have 5 of those, and so that's 70 people. Let's set you up on the line. And now we need to start delivering people to these stations because there's only so many people that are going to be wanting to go that route. So let's set up some passenger stations here. So that's going to connect there. I want to connect right here. I want to go connect right in here. That's going to connect there, and we're going to want to then connect over to here. That will encourage the clockwise and counterclockwise kind of encourage which roads they use. So the standard I've come up with is the clockwise stations. The clockwise route is always yellow in every city. So there's the clockwise route. And this is going to be Indianapolis Pass clockwise. And so we want a hub somewhere cheap. And look at the road vehicles. And this is going to be a yellow line. And I want some max. That's 47,000. We're going to have 5 of them on there. So there is that route. And of course, this thing just decides, oh, I want to put a road right there. And I'm like, no, you can't. So you got to watch at the end of the month. When the month ticks over, it will try to build. It will start to build roads because it detects that you're now servicing the area, and it says, "Hey, we can build roads." So now this thing has got a lot more catchment that it's doing, and that is working there. So let's go up to Chicago and do the same thing, or at least try to. We might run out of money. And let's bridge this over to here. Okay, so how do we want to do this here? This is going to be a little messy because I don't know. The city kind of has its own attitude of where things should be placed or where roads should be built. And I really don't want to get in the way of that. So that takes care of here. I'm going to go all the way over to here. Place one there. So that should take care of most of that. And I kind of want one downtown on this one. So that they'll come up here, go through this road, and hook right up into this. So this will be also yellow. So here, there, and there. So there is my Chicago clockwise line. And now we need a nice depot somewhere. I'm going to put it over here. Buy road vehicles. Again, we're going with yellow. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Chicago Pass clockwise. You don't really need to do a counterclockwise one until you really start getting a lot of passengers. And then it's wise to do counterclockwise because, clockwise, they're going to take from here and go to here. But if passengers are getting dropped off that want to go to the industry, they're going to they're much more likely to go from here to here. So the counterclockwise then can increase the number of people that are actually using your lines. So we're going to need to make some money soon. So we've got our first passenger waiting in Chicago. That's a good place to end it. We got $3,000 in the bank, and probably going to need to take out a loan or let some time pass and let this build up just a little bit. So that will do it for this episode. So I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.